Today on the podcast, we're diving into what some of the biggest banks in America are currently saying about AI, and they have some very kind of shocking titles, essentially, that we're seeing in the news, some very shocking headlines. So the first one comes out of JPMorgan Chase's CEO, who is Jamie Dimon, and he is essentially placing bets, and essentially he's calling out and saying that AI is going to enable a 3.5-day work week. And he reveals that the technology is, quote, already doing all the equity hedging for his banks. So some massive technology shifts that are already happening at JPMorgan Chase because of what they're using AI for. And he believes that AI is going to replace so much of the industry, so many different, so much work. Essentially, it's going to have such an impact on work that we're only going to be working 3.5 days a week. So today on the podcast, we're going to be diving into this, as well as a prediction from Morgan Stanley that more than 40% of all labor forces are going to be affected by AI in the next 3 years. This is substantially up from other forecasts we've seen other places. So let's dive into it without any further ado. Welcome to the world's #1 AI podcast, AI Chat. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. If you've been following the podcast for a while, you'll know that over the last 6 months, I've been working on a stealth AI startup. Of the hundreds of projects I've covered, this is the one that I believe has the greatest potential. So today I'm excited to announce AI Box. AI Box is a no-code AI app building platform paired with the App Store for AI that lets you monetize your AI tools. The platform lets you build apps by linking together AI models like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and 11 Labs. Eventually, we'll integrate with software like Gmail, Trello, and Salesforce, so you can use AI to automate every function in your organization. To get notified when we launch and be one of the first to build on the platform, you can join the waitlist at aibox.ai. The link is in the show notes. We are currently raising a seed round of funding. If you're an investor that is focused on disruptive tech, I'd love to tell you more about the platform. You can reach out to me at jaden@aibox.ai. I'll leave that email in the show notes. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Of course, we all know that AI is no longer just stuff of sci-fi fantasies. A bunch of really big people on Wall Street, including JPMorgan Chase, think that it is not only integrating, and they're currently not only just integrating AI across their operations, but they're also envisioning a future where the technology significantly alters the work week. So despite this focus on future technology, the company, I think it's kind of funny, is currently investing heavily in traditional office space. And I think this kind of indicates a bit of a complex vision of the future of work. If you've seen lately, Chase Bank has been in the news for requiring that people come into the office. So they're definitely very forward thinking about what AI is going to do, but they're not very flexible on, flexible work, working from home or other things like that. So I think a lot of these headlines right now recently came from some interviews with Bloomberg TV. So JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon announced that artificial intelligence has already penetrated almost every aspect of the company's operations. He said, quote, "We already have thousands of people inside JPMorgan doing it." He emphasized that AI is, quote, "critical to our company's future success." I think that's very interesting. And he also was noting that AI programs, manage functions like equity hedging, that, quote, "every single process, every app, every database has been influenced by AI technologies." So remarkably, Dimon kind of foresees a future where advances in technology could reduce the traditional work week to just 3.5 days. That's what's, of course, catching a ton of headlines, right? Everyone wants to work 3.5 days. Maybe not everyone. Some people do. He conceded that AI will, quote, "of course, replace some human jobs," but says that the company hopes to redeploy any displaced employees elsewhere within the firm. So for their company, they're not just using AI to lay people off. They're probably using AI to become a lot more efficient, effective, and grow as a company. So while the CEO has long been really bullish about, a 5-day office work week, this new comment, I think, kind of offers a nuanced perspective on how technology could change that in the long run. However, what I will say, of course, the double-edged sword here is that Dimon also cautioned about the pitfalls of AI, saying, quote, "But planes crash, pharmaceuticals get misused." He noted, kind of acknowledging that every significant technological shift brings along its downsides. So specifically, he warned of the risk of cyber warfare associated with the technology. I think this all comes at a time when Morgan Stanley right now is currently estimating that AI could have a $4.1 trillion impact on the labor market, affecting around 44% of labor in the next few years. Brian Nowak, who's an analyst at Morgan Stanley, wrote in a Sunday note that he sees, quote, generative AI expanding the scope of business processes that can be automated. He also estimated that software vendors could tap into a $205 billion total addressable market over the next 3 years if AI continues to evolve at its current pace, which I think is going to be really, really incredible. So there, of course, as I mentioned, are some contradictory moves. So I think while embracing this whole future of work, JP Morgan is paradoxically also in the process of building a $3 billion 70-story office tower on Park Avenue. I think that's scheduled to open in 2025. And this is going to accommodate approximately 15,000 employees and comes as the firm is, recalling its employees back to the office 5 days a week. Bonuses have been tied to office attendance, so they're not going to give you your bonuses unless you're in the office. And they're underscoring the firm's short-term commitment to in-person work, even as it invests in future technology. So last year, Dimon warned of a quote-unquote financial hurricane looming over the U.S. banking system in a climate of economic uncertainty that he says, quote, has not meaningfully changed since last year. His dual focus on traditional workspaces and futuristic technology, I think, kind of represents a bit of a strategic balancing act for, the banking giant. I think in a future kind of dominated by AI, the traditional norms of the banking industry and the broader labor market seem set to kind of undergo some fairly significant shifts. JPMorgan is also already kind of leading this transformation, but they're also taking strategic steps to maintain a bit of a balance between the old and the new worlds. This is something very common with the banking industry. It is, known for being quite cautious and conservative. I think the company's actions serve as a microism for the complexities and possibilities that AI offers in shaping the future of the world. Definitely an area that we're going to continue to follow and focus on, but there's some big predictions being made by the banking giants today, and I think they're going to have some really big implications. I mean, even just, what Morgan Stanley is saying about, what $4.1 trillion impact on the labor market, I think absolutely massive. It's interesting because earlier this year, and even I think last year, we had some people making predictions about, where the labor market was going. I think we had McKinsey making some big predictions, and these newer predictions that are happening right now seem to be revised upward. If I'm not mistaken, it's like over $1 trillion upward. So it's interesting to see that as time goes on, it would appear that we are seeing that people are predicting this is going to have a bigger and bigger impact. This is kind of the opposite of what you see in a typical bubble where, a lot of people are saying at the beginning when Microsoft invested heavily in OpenAI, they're like, it's just a big bubble. This thing's going to pop. It's not going to be as impactful as many people might think. And then as time went on, a lot of people are saying, oh, shoot, this thing is actually a lot more impactful than we thought. And I tend to be in that camp. I think this is going to impact every single job within the next 5 years. I think the combination of this with autonomous, robots, for example, having AI embedded in them will be able to replace a large swath of jobs done today, even blue-collar jobs. It's going to be very interesting. We're seeing some very huge shifts. This is definitely something we'll continue to follow into the future.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.